A few weeks ago, I had this crazy idea that we should invite everyone running for president to come and speak to us at this event today. And I'm very pleased that the first person to accept an invitation to come speak to the leadership of the Human Rights Campaign was Senator Hillary Clinton. And I'm especially happy that it was Senator Clinton because she and I and HRC have sort of a storied past. Now, we met when she was running for the Senate and I was working at Emily's List, but we really got to know one another last year during the federal marriage amendment fight in the Senate. It was Senator Clinton who first summoned me to the Hill, and she did summon me to the Hill, and I went immediately to talk about our strategy for defeating the FMA. Senator Clinton was very concerned about what exactly the strategy was going to be. And I remember that she looked directly at me and she said, what is the takeaway here? What are we going to come away from this thing having achieved? And I said, winning, which I thought was, for us, pretty good. And she said, no. What I mean is, beyond winning, what's the takeaway? What are all the things that we would like to get done? How are we going to walk away from this fight and never fight this fight again? How are we going to make sure that the messaging is united, that the Senate is united, that the community is united, and we kill it dead? And what struck me about that conversation was that she was at the end of the process, and the rest of us were at the beginning of the process of what victory was going to look like in that fight. So she instructed us to go back and do research, to get a really clear sense of where the American people were at that moment in time around the FMA fight, how it fell within a broader range of issues, and what the united strategy was going to be within the Senate to fight this. She brought us back to the Hill 2 more times to brief the Senate on how we were going to get this done. She convened the meetings, and she made sure that everybody was in line. And I'm going to tell a story that maybe I shouldn't tell, but there was a point during that briefing when one senator on the other side of the table was talking to another senator and not paying attention. And Senator Clinton did something that some of you I know that I sometimes do. She did like a snap point thing. And she said, pay attention, because this is important, and we're going to win this. And then afterwards, she came up to me and she said, where are we with him? And I said, we're a little shaky with him. And she said, I will take care of that. Now, I tell you that story about Senator Clinton because I think it illustrates the kind of strategic partnership and friendship that we have with her. You know and I know that every candidate in this field is on their own journey with regard to our issues. I feel very much that Senator Clinton is on that journey with us. To us, she's a great leader and an even better friend. Please join me in welcoming Senator Hillary Clinton.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Wow, let's do this every week. I am so delighted to be here and to be part of this spring board meeting and equality convention. I am especially grateful to Joe. He gave you just one side of what we did on the FMA. I want to give you the other side about what a smart, steadfast, strategic leader HRC has. Someone who understands how to get where we need to go. So I am proud to call Joe a colleague and a friend, and I see a lot of friends out there, people with whom I have worked in many different battles over a lot of years. I am also pleased that you have so many numbers here today, which is just a small slice of the constituencies that you bring to the table. And that is, in and of itself, an important story. And I'm grateful that you've got leaders like Lori Demarest and Henry Robin, and I see particularly two longtime friends of mine, Fred Hochberg. Where did Fred go? I know Fred is here somewhere. Where is Fred? There he is. You know, Fred and his partner Tom have opened up their home to me and to many Democratic candidates over so many years now, and I'm very grateful for their support and their friendship. And Hillary Rosen, who is here, who has been a great leader on issues and whose voice is listened to. So I am delighted to see her as well. And I'm also pleased to announce that Mark Walsh, who serves on your Board of Governors and Public Policy Committee, has just joined my campaign. And so thank you, Mark. But mostly I want to thank all of you. I want to thank you for how every single day you stand up for the basic principle that our country is really anchored on, that we are all created equal, and that we are each endowed with certain inalienable rights, and that we should all have the opportunity to live up to our God-given potential. This is a job that none of you asked for, but each of you carries out. And you do so in a million different ways, every single day in every corner of our country. Because what matters is your energy, determination, integrity, and talent. And every day that you stand up for who you are helping us move toward that more perfect union, where equality is not just a goal, but a reality. And you've had some important victories these last years. Last November, you organized and strategized to get out the vote. And after 12 long years of gridlock and roadblocks, we now have Speaker Pelosi and Majority Leader Reid. You know, there's someone here who has forgotten more about how Congress operates than most of us will ever know, Michael Berman, who's on your board. And I think it's fair to say, Mike, that we now don't have to worry so much about legislation like the FMA. We can actually concentrate on what we'll do to improve lives for Americans. And that is such a wonderful change. When HRC stood up, I love the fact it's my initials. Have you ever noticed that? When HRC stood up and took on the federal marriage amendment, you were making an important statement because this amendment was wedge politics at its worst. It was mean-spirited. It was against the entire forward movement of American history. It was the first time that anyone was proposing that we amend the Constitution to deny citizens' rights, rather than widening the circle of rights and opportunities. And I was proud to meet with Joe and others representing HRC and other groups to strategize together, because it gave us an opportunity to not only defeat the amendment, but to lay down some markers about the positive agenda we are pursuing. It wasn't easy, and I know a lot of you put in long hours making phone calls and sending hundreds of emails and lobbying personally your members in Congress. You had to educate a lot of people. Joe saw that even at the meetings we held. There were a number of my colleagues who just weren't quite sure what this was all about. But in the end, we stopped the federal marriage amendment, and we sent a strong message that we will not stand idly by when anyone tries to write discrimination into our Constitution. And I want you to know that this is exactly the kind of partnership we will have when I am president. We made the first step today in getting a Democratic Congress, but tomorrow we have to take back the White House. And when we do that, it will be the end of the divisive leadership over the past 6 years. It will be the end of leadership that has politicized the most personal and intimate issues. And instead, we will once again be working to bring people together to understand and respect one another. And we're going to reach out and work with our allies in Congress, both to change laws and change hearts. Because we want to make sure that all Americans in committed relationships have equal benefits, from health insurance and life insurance to Social Security and property rights and more. It is wrong that so many people are unable to care for those they love, to leave them their homes and belongings, to ensure they can see a doctor, to visit them in the hospital when they're sick. These are fundamental rights, and we will continue to push until they are equally available. As many of you know, I have long supported civil unions, and that's why I am co-sponsoring the Domestic Partnership Benefits and Obligations Act, which would grant the same benefits to domestic partners of federal workers as those who are given to legal spouses. We're going to make sure that nothing stands in the way of loving couples, gay or straight, who want to adopt children. I have spent more than 35 years fighting for children and families, and I have seen the sadness and the hope in the eyes of children who are desperate for a family to call their own. We have a fundamental obligation to make sure these children have loving homes and a chance to succeed. And we're going to finally expand our federal hate crimes legislation. Because we know that a hate crime isn't just a crime against an individual, it's a crime against a community. It sends a message to an entire group of people that they are unwelcome, that they should be afraid. Hate crimes are an affront to the core values that bind us to one another, and we should marshal our best resources to prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. We also want finally to pass ENDA, to end discrimination in the workplace, in public accommodations, and elsewhere. Because it is inconceivable to me that in the year 2007, people who work hard and do a good job every day can still be fired because of who they love. It is unfair, it is un-American, and we're going to put a stop to it once and for all. We are also going to work to end the failed policy of don't ask, don't tell, because we know that courage, honor, patriotism, and sacrifice, the traits that define our men and women in uniform, have nothing to do with sexual orientation. And in fact, we are discouraging people with critical skills, including desperately needed language skills. This policy doesn't just hurt gays and lesbians. It hurts all of our troops. And this, to me, is a matter of national security, and we're going to fix it because we know our nation is stronger when our best men and women can be permitted to serve if that is the choice they want to make. And I know, based on my experience in the last 2 years in the battle against FMA, that working with all of you, we can accomplish these goals because we have the same determination, the same can-do attitude, and the same great initials. And in the end, these issues speak to the core truths of our democracy. As Justice Kennedy so eloquently wrote in Lawrence v. Texas, those who drafted the Due Process Clause of the 5th and 14th Amendments knew that times can blind us to certain truths, and later generations can see that laws once thought necessary and proper, in fact, serve only to oppress. As the Constitution endures, persons in every generation can invoke its principles in their own search for greater freedom. That is the fundamental principle that unites us as Americans. It is what drives our commitment to stand up for those who are not in this room, those who don't have a voice, those who have never heard of the Human Rights Campaign, the boy who is afraid to walk down the hallway at school, the devoted partner barred from the hospital bedside of the woman she loves, and all those who still go about their daily lives in silence, unable to acknowledge who they are and who they love. For more than 25 years, you at the Human Rights Campaign have been their voice, and I am proud to stand by your side. I want you to know that just as you always have an open door to my Senate office, you will always have an open door to the White House. And together, we will continue our struggle against hatred and our stand for equality. Together, we can continue this journey that America has been on from the very beginning, to form that more perfect union and to realize the deeply held values we share. I believe together we can renew the promise of America and restore our leadership around the world. It will never finish, but we can continue to make progress together. Thank you all, and God bless you.